The housing crisis deepens. 21 years of housing ministers and their achievements. Meet our top 10. I'm your host Matthew Moody, and today we go back to our favourite topic of housing ministers and exactly what have they been up to over the last 21 years. So stay tuned for our top 10 of your favourite housing ministers and their achievements. Hello and a warm welcome back to Property TV. Now do check out our page because it is splendiferous, and if you have not subscribed, click on the link below, because the more subscribers we have, the happier Sebastian feels, and if Sebastian is happy, I'm happy. So do subscribe now and stay tuned for the latest industry headlines of what's going on in the UK property industry. We're going to attempt in the next 3 minutes to go deep into the psyche of the housing minister and find out exactly what they did do in their tenure. Kicking off with Hilary Armstrong, who took post in 1997. Now, she actually introduced two acts in that year: the Protection from Harassment Act 1997 and Gas Safety Regulations in 1998. All valuable policies and frameworks that need to be in place and are still in place today. As well as that, she created the government's Social Exclusion Unit, which was helped to reduce rough sleeping by 2/3. Moving on to 1999, and Nick Rainsford took position, and he actually introduced the Building Regulations Act of 2000, which effectively improved three things: fire safety, energy efficiency, and also the mandatory distillable access for new builds. Lord Faulkner, 2001, not very much. Lord Rooker, 2002, not very much. Keith Hill, 2003, not very much. Yvette Cooper, 2005, welcome back Yvette. So she was responsible for introducing the 2004 Housing Act, although it didn't actually come into place until 2006. That introduced several things, including deposit protection for tenants' money, the new housing and safety rating system, the licensing of houses in multiple occupation, and the introduction of the and the introduction of the controversial home information packs. Let's hope they edit that out. Caroline Flint, 2008. Didn't do very much really, but did suggest that unemployed council tenants should actively seek work, as though none of us knew that already. And whilst walking down Downing Street, but we'll come on to that later, keep watching for what was revealed walking down Downing Street. Moving on, Margaret Beckett, 2008, not very much. John Healey, 2009, not very much, but he did suggest that home ownership decline is a good thing, and claimed that he was pleased that more and more people were renting. I wonder why. Grant Shapps, 2010. Now, he did a few bits and pieces in his regime. He repealed the controversial HIPs. He introduced the no second night out policy to prevent rough sleeping, and in 2012 launched an app named StreetLink to combat rough sleeping, as well as controversially ending lifetime social tenancies. Moving on to 2012, Mark Prisk. Not very much, but he did help to put together the Future High Street Forum to ideally regenerate struggling retailers in the high street. Well, we all know how that worked out, right? Not very well. Chris Hopkins, 2013, not very much. Brandon Lewis, welcome Brandon, 2014. So he was both housing and planning minister at the same time, and he made claims that he succeeded in changing the public's opinion regarding housing development in their area. Or, if you look at it another way, referred to the controversial National Planning Policy Framework, which actually permits developers to build on greenfield sites a lot easier than they could in the past. So, not sure if public opinion did change, but nice try. Gavin Barwell, 2016. Didn't really do very much in terms of policies, but was overseeing the white paper that was introduced, the 106-page document that showed how we can fix the housing crisis, because they've not had enough time to fix it already. Moving on to 2017 and Alok Sharma. Now, whilst he was only in post for a short period of time, he did actually do quite a lot in his time. He introduced £1 billion to be available for developers to do build-to-rent schemes. He also allocated more resources to local authorities to allow them to speed up planning, actually understand how to do planning, and did a lot of touring around the country after the Grenfell Tower tragic incident in order to meet more social housing tenants and understand what their needs, wants and desires were in the modern world, which then moves on to today, 2018, Dominic Raab, Right to Move. That's his big thing right now. He wants to remove debt equity and gift social housing tenants with a percentage of the capital to incentivise home ownership and finance new social housing. Or, could be what they did back in the 80s, is sell off all of the government-earned stock at a massive discount, and then allow people to sell it later for a huge uplift. We'll have to wait and see that one, won't we? Anyhow, that wraps up the policies, but now let's look at some of the gaffes. No one knows where the cup lives, it just moves around. So if you follow it around the screen, you may find an Easter egg. Not really. So now let's look at some of the gaffes and interesting, curious things you may or may not have known about some of our former housing ministers. So let's get kicked off with Lord Faulkner, who apparently is addicted to Diet Coke. And yes, I know it's not Diet Coke, but believe you me, once you've been tangoed, you cannot come back from that. So he's addicted to Diet Coke. Now, who else? Lord Rooker. He's an advocate of genetically modified food. Who knew? We didn't know. Now we do. Keith Hill. Now this one's interesting. Keith is actually doing something very special. And in 2000 was in Trafalgar Square doing something like this. Keith Hill in the house! Yes, Keith actually dressed up as a rapper on Times Square, encouraging the young people to vote. Look where that got him. He isn't the housing minister anymore. In fact, he has a very, very promising career. He's now reinventing himself and is Sneaky Pete! Apparently it's Trafalgar Square, Times Square, Trafalgar Square. They're all a square. It's good. Anyhow, back with serious news. Margaret Beckett tried to claim £600 for flowers and pots whilst being a minister. Chris Hopkins. Not a lot we can say about Chris, apart from the fact that he was known for being labelled in a tweet as an awful decision. By Nadine Dorris, a fellow member of the Conservative Party. So that rounds up our scintillating update on housing ministers. But now we have what you've been waiting for, the top 10 housing ministers in terms of houses that they built and processes and frameworks and regulations and all that guga that they actually implemented. So we've ranked them in descending order, 10th being obviously in 10th place, right through to the first. And we have a very nice trophy for the first place. So who's going to win that? Keep watching and we'll tell you right after this short ad break. So now we come to the top 10 housing ministers. In descending order, in 10th place is Caroline Flint. Yes, we're giving her 10th place because she did walk down Housing Street with her briefing papers visible and the following could be read on them. We can't tell how bad it will get, referring to the housing crisis. So Caroline, 10th place for you. Now, moving down into 9th place, we have our favourite rapper, Keith's in the house, Keith Hill, in 9th place, just because of the fact that A, he's quite an old bod, and B, he went rapping in Trafalgar Square. That's just awesome. We love him. Now, in 8th place, we then move on to our current housing minister, Dominic Raab. Because let's face it, he's not really had time to get going right now. We don't know what he's going to do. We're looking forward to it, but he's not been able to jump up the ranks yet. And also, the amount of houses being built right now is pretty poor, Dominic. So crack on and get on with that. Oh, we're on! In 7th place is Gavin Barwell, just because he had the audacity to produce a 106-page document saying how bad the housing crisis is, then lost his seat, and now he's Chief of Staff in the White House. Oh, sorry, no, Downing Street. No, sorry, the White House. No, oh, yep, sorry, Downing Street. Well done, Gavin, 7th place. Now in 6th place, our friend Alok, because let's face it, Alok did do quite a lot of touring whilst he was out there. He did try his best to try and take on the position with as much gusto and as much enthusiasm as possible. In the end, it just wasn't quite enough. But the fact he did make available a lot of money to developers is awesome. Then, in 5th place, we have Grant Shapps, because Grant introduced a ton of different legislation whilst he was in place. Plus, he did pretty well on the house building point of view as well. And in 4th place is our friend Brandon Lewis. Because again, Brandon was responsible for both housing and planning, which was the first time for some time. And he did introduce the ability for developers to build pretty much wherever they want. So we thought we'd give him that as 4th place. And they did have a small bump in numbers on the housing built at that time. So now we're down to the top 3. And who has won one of these most elusive little prizes, our winning medal? Well, I'm going to tell you right now. In 3rd place, with an astonishing 184,713 homes built, plus 2 major acts, was Hilary Armstrong. Well done, Hilary. Your medal will be in the post. Now in 2nd place, with 177,647 houses built. Remember, it's not always about all the houses built, was Nick Rainsford. And again, this is because he introduced a very valuable act, the Building Regulations Act of 2000. So that remains for us to know who is going to win the last place. Is it going to be Lord Falconer, Lord Rooker, John Healey, Margaret Beck? Is it going to be Matt Prisk, Chris Hopkins? Or is it going to be the one we've not mentioned yet? I found her. It's Yvette. Well done, Yvette. Yvette managed to build the most houses, 206,405 homes, plus she introduced the 2004 Housing Act, which is pretty much the biggest piece of legislation that's been introduced in the country to directly help the housing market probably in the last 30 or 40 years. So well done to Yvette. We will send you the medal in the post, and we look forward to repeating this on another edition of Property TV very, very soon. Once we found out what our new that didn't come out very well. Once you find out what our new Housing Minister, Dominic Raab, is up to. So thank you once again for joining us on another episode of Property TV. It's been our pleasure to be with you once more yet again. Before we go, breaking news. It is true, we've just promoted Itzvan. He is now no longer Master Key Grip, he is also Chief Designer, and his well-deserved promotion there. And remember, if you have not subscribed yet, do subscribe and keep watching the channel for more episodes of Property TV. And we will be going live in a couple of weeks' time at the HMO and Rent to Rent Expo. So make sure you're there to see a live taping of HMO TV and what we do behind the scenes. I'll see you soon. Thank you.